Can change your life with me, Reverend Lee Wallach. Every day we come together to explore. And so I'm going back to an old familiar one today. Is love real? Everywhere I go, people talk about they're having so much problems with love relationships, love this, love that. And then the question I tend to ask is, well, what does it mean? What does love mean to you? And what I've come up with, and that's why the second chapter of my book is about the power of knowing what love is. Because unless you know what it is, how can you have it? How can you live it? How can you be it? And we've gotten so confused that we think that love is about liking someone, really liking them special. And that love is about being physically attracted to someone. Those two things are very real. Liking someone is very real. Desiring someone physically is very real, but that's not what love is. Love is simply the awareness and acceptance of our wholeness and the wholeness of others. And you hear me say all the time when I'm teaching or talking that everything begins with self-love. Because until you embrace your wholeness and you become aware of your wholeness and you accept your wholeness, it's impossible for you to accept it for anyone else. Do you get that? You can't see the truth for someone if you can't see the truth for you. You can't accept anyone else any more than you accept yourself. It goes back to the whole idea that psychologists that talk about this. You will not allow anyone to abuse you more than you abuse yourself. That one sucks, doesn't it? And most of the abuse is verbal abuse we're talking about here. Think about that. You will allow someone else to abuse you, to put you down, to make you feel low, to the degree that you do it to yourself. Reverse that. You will allow someone to love you to the degree that you love yourself. One of the big things that has shown up when we're doing our healings is the people who are healees find that they've never been in a situation where the energy of 40 people or more people is for them, accepting them as they are, lifting them to a higher vibration. Think about that. That's one of the beautiful things about our Saturday Zoom healing sessions, is because we take 3 individuals who've asked to be in the role of the receivers, and everyone else becomes a giver, and you're giving without any condition. You're actually practicing loving someone else. And then at the end, we ask you to sit back and for you to receive, meaning you have to love yourself to be able to receive. If you're not a good receiver, it means you're not a good lover. If you're not a good giver, it means you're not a good lover. You see, there has to be both. There has to be a giving and receiving. And the giving and receiving is our awareness and acceptance of wholeness. See, the ego can't deal with that. The ego always has to be right or wrong. That's why to be in a state of love for a long period of time is very difficult, because we automatically go into judgment. We've been domesticated into that whole idea that we judge, we judge, we judge, we judge, we judge. Even religion today says God is an all-loving God. But if you do this, God damns you to hell. It's not a loving God. That's a vengeful God. That's not God at all, because God is infinite everywhere present, always present, all powerful, all wisdom, nothing but it. Therefore, it can't compare itself to anything, so judgment cannot possibly exist in it. Anyone who tells you in a religion that God judges, that's not a religion. That's a control mechanism to get you to behave the way they, whoever they are, want you to behave. The divine created everything out of itself. And would the divine put restrictions on anything? No. It would give it perfect freedom because it has perfect freedom. So if it gave it perfect freedom, then life is about laws, the law of cause and effect. What you put out, you get back. No punishment, just what you put out, you put back. No emotions, just what you put out, you get back. Do you get that? That's why it's easy to accept yourself. Because if you accept yourself, you know that whatever you put out, you got back. Now start putting out something different. Oh, I'll get this back. Put out something different. I get this back. Same thing with others. What they put out, they get back. You don't have to worry about judging anyone. Whatever they're putting out, they're getting back. It's the law. It's nature. And if you watch it, it happens all the time. That's why people tell me, well, you got to have an opinion. That person did this, this, this. I said, I'm not worried. I know that the law is working. Ernest Holmes, when he was talking about science of mind, he talked about two aspects of life. He talked about love and he talked about law. First, we have to accept. That's right. We have to accept our wholeness, become aware and accept our wholeness. And from our wholeness, we use the law to create our life experience. We create a mental atmosphere that creates our experience. See, it's so beautiful. The power comes from us loving ourselves. When we love ourselves, we know who we are. We know who we are. We become conscious creators instead of unconscious creators. Unconscious creators are victims. Conscious creators, you create, you know. I know that when I lost my last corporate job, I created me losing that job. I know that when I broke my hip, I created it because I wasn't being aware. Everything, I believe, is about becoming more aware of loving yourself, more aware of loving others, more aware of expanding and growing yourself in ways that are so magnificent you haven't even thought of them yet. But they're there because your mind and the infinite mind are one, and all you have to do is open up to that possibility. When you open up to that possibility and you listen in the silence, and you're not listening to something familiar, you're listening to something new. Because life is always about expansion. Death is always about contraction. We are eternally becoming more aware. And when we embrace that, we live in an eternal state of love. I've given you quite a bit to think about today. Think about it. It's different. It's unique. I think you'll find as you go deeper and deeper into it, like I have, it becomes more meaningful. You get a better idea of love, and you can begin today to become aware and to accept your wholeness, because you understand when you can do that, you can do it for others. Until next time, make it a great day. Make it a day of love, a love for you. Until tomorrow, aloha.